Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Perth East Council, this 17th day of December. I'd like to call our meeting to order. If everyone could please bow their head for a moment of reflection. Thank you. Confirmation of the agenda. We do have one additional item to the agenda, so I'll let Ashley tell you about that.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Rhonda. Under item number 15.1, closed session, we do have a need to enter into a closed session for advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a motion that says that the following item be added to the meeting agenda, 15.1, closed session, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communication necessary for that purpose. So the agenda as prepared for December 17th, 2024, meeting of council of the Township of Perth East be approved as amended. Moved by Hugh, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. Okay, on our, if you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as our meeting goes along, council. We have 10 items on our consent agenda. Is there any item anyone would like pulled? Do they have questions? Andrew?
Report, please.
5.1.3.
That is correct. Thank you.
Okay, you just have a question on it?
Yeah, just a quick question. I just want to know, is it a typo maybe, or Wes isn't here? 3.1 million this year versus 13 last year in construction values for this month.
It's not a typo to my understanding. It's not a typo. Yeah, I don't remember the specific project. There was a significant project last year that came on.
Okay.
But yeah, we can certainly get those specifics for council.
So it was one large one.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what my recollection is. But I can, yeah, I'll confirm that with Wes. He's on vacation, and we'll share that with council.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, anyone else have any questions on any of the items? If not, then we have a motion that items 5.1.1 to 5.110 as set out in the consent agenda for December 17, 2024 regular meeting of council be received for information, and that the minutes of December 10, 2024 Perth East Public Library Board PEPLB be received for information, and that the minutes of December 3rd, 2024 regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, under presentations, we do have one public presentation, and that's Daniel Siegel from Siegel Construction on sustainable affording housing proposal. And Daniel is joining us on the screen tonight. So welcome to Perth East, Daniel, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for inviting me into your council meeting this evening. My name is Daniel Siegel. I'm a builder of laneway houses and garden suites. And about 6 months ago, I pivoted to try to tackle the housing crisis in Ontario. So first off, my goal here is to work with a bunch of different municipalities across the province to figure out how to solve the housing crisis as it stands in 2024. Predominantly, that addresses the lack of supply of entry-level housing. So the county is responsible for everything related to housing, from transitional housing to rent geared to income. And then after that point, it's really up to the private sector to address housing. And the source, I believe, of the housing crisis is that no one's been really building entry-level homes since the 80s. So historically, attainable housing has been built in two periods in Canadian history widely. So that would be the 1920s to the 1940s, and then again in the 1970s and 1980s. And then outside that time frame, homeowners and developers have gobbled up what once was an attainable house, renovated them, and likely now pushed that attainable house out of reach of most Ontarians. I should note that when I talk about attainable housing, that could refer to either rental housing that's attainable and home ownership that's attainable. In Canada, the CMHC really only recognized attainable rental options, and as of last week, last time I checked, they don't have any programs that support attainable home ownership. And so I believe that that is where a lot of the issues lie, and part of the reason why it's not getting better anytime soon. Bill 23 came out with the goal of building 1.5 million homes by 2031. And frankly, if those houses are $3 million each, it won't make a dent in the housing crisis. So I think we have to be realistic, and I come to you this evening with some solutions. And primarily those solutions revolve around separating the value of a house from the value of the land and the services that are on that house happens to be on. And in doing so, my goal is to build subdivisions of houses for sale at or below the affordable detached purchase price in Bill 21, which is $406,000. I plan to do that with the help of some of my friends who are in the prefabricated housing business, who may not necessarily be well versed in land assembly, dealing with zoning on site plans, etc., and ultimately providing people in Ontario with access to, I would say, the missing 3 or 4 rungs in the housing inventory across the province that's missing, that for the most part dominate the news and political discourse in our province. With that, if we could go to the next slide here. The idea here is the target market is the newlyweds and the nearly deads in Ontario, as well as workers, and even there's been some interest for using these models for temporary shelters, so overflow shelters. I would say that the biggest issue in 2024 with respect to these types of developments is that all the good land is already owned, and the people who own the land that could be developed want a lot of money for that land. And when you're providing a social good, it's very hard to make the numbers work when you have to lose money on every project in order to make the numbers work. And because of that, I asked council if there is a need or a willingness to take on these projects. Municipally owned land is a great start. Alternatively, concessions when it comes to zoning also go a long way towards supplying this. Ultimately, I'm looking at both service and unserviced land to do these projects on. And my experience today talking to a planner in a town not too far from where you guys are, if the zoning's wrong and the services aren't there, despite it providing a social good, it's impossible to get the projects off the ground from a zoning perspective, even, you know, changing the official plans, et cetera. So the point here is that it's not a simple process of let's just put some houses somewhere. In a lot of cases, it's really challenging to select the right plot of land to do this on, because there are only a handful, and ultimately the people on that land may have other ideas for what they want to do with it. And that is, I would say, a large portion of the battle as it stands, at least from my perspective. If we could go to the next slide, please. One of the nice things about these subdivisions of attainable houses is that we learned a few things with the condo bust and boom and bust in the province, that we kind of figured out how to do pre-sales pretty well. Similarly, if we would be doing affordable houses, the key would be that it requires a minimal investment up front, because as the houses are pre-sold, that really covers off a lot of the financing costs involved. And it's a great way to lower the risk of a municipality when they're looking at doing something at this scale, that's generally outside of their wheelhouses. If we go to the next slide, please. The key thing here is that in 2024, my goal here is to get houses ready for occupancy within 2 weeks of them arriving on site. For the most part, these are prefabricated CSA approved houses, and they come to site pretty much ready to be lived in. And that's vastly different than the way things have been built to date. Generally, you know, it's a 3 to 6 to 9 month process, depending on how long it takes to get through zoning approvals. But in 2024, it really is feasible to get houses ready for occupancy very quickly. And that lowers the overall cost of the project, and something that I think makes a lot of the projects that didn't seem viable in the past viable in 2024 going into 2025. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. I ultimately encourage council to refer this to staff for a report. And I thank you for your time this evening.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of council? No, no questions. So thank you very much for your presentation, and we appreciate all the information. So we do have a motion. Sorry, go ahead.
Have a great evening. Thank you for your time.
Okay, you too. We do have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the presentation from Daniel Siegel of Siegel Construction regarding a sustainable, affordable housing proposal for information. Moved by Hugh, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Okay, under other presentations, our first one is going to be from Streamline Engineering Incorporated, and this is for the Gingerick Municipal Drain. So I believe there are two gentlemen here from Streamline, so welcome to Perth East. The floor is yours.
I don't think you turn that on at all. Yes.
Should be a red light come on.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you very much, Mayor Eggetts and Council. My name is Trevor Kipfer, and I have with me tonight Michael Seaman. We're with Streamline Engineering, based out of an office right here in Milverton. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, be providing services for the Township of Perth East, so thanks for that opportunity. We're going to be talking about two different reports here tonight. So I'm going to be presenting on the Gingrich Municipal Drain Extension here first, and then Mike is going to talk about the McCloy Drain Structure Replacement Project, which involves crossing on the G2G trail just outside of town. But for right now, we're going to talk about the Gingrich Drain Extension Report, which is up on the screen. And then I'm not sure, actually, I should clarify, if we want to show something specific, can I direct that to his? Okay, perfect, thank you. So anyway, we were appointed this past June to provide for an extension to the Gingrich Municipal Drain, which was instigated by a drain petition submitted by the Perth East Manager of Public Works. The Gingrich Drain currently starts at Smith Creek, just to the east of Milverton. It extends west through a channel, stormwater management pond, and pipe system to the intersection of Mill Street and Coulter Street. So the primary goal of this report was to extend the Gingrich Drain to establish a legal outlet for Cobalt Street, which is right next to the public school there, and also update the maintenance schedules on the Gingrich Drain as they need to be updated as a result of quite a lot of development happening in Milverton in the past number of years and whatnot. So we initially had a on-site meeting for the project on June the 26th. Following the on-site meeting, we completed a survey and we investigated the drainage area. We reviewed development plans, topographic mapping, and completed field investigations to establish the drainage area, and we ended up having a follow-up meeting with Perth East staff on July the 26th. So if I could maybe ask at this point to zoom in on that little plan in the top right-hand corner of the screen there, perfect. So this is essentially showing the drain extension. So you'll see kind of in the bottom right corner of that screen, that black circle represents a manhole. So that was the current end of the existing municipal drain. And starting at the green line proceeding west, and then heading northwest towards Cobalt Street. All of that we're proposing on incorporating into the Gingrich drain to extend it. So based on the meetings and follow-up discussions that we had with the staff at the township, we're proposing to extend the drain as I've explained there. It's going to involve including approximately 159 meters of existing storm sewer, 160 meters of existing channel, 1 existing laneway crossing, 1 existing road crossing, and various structures to be incorporated into the drain. Furthermore, we've provided updated maintenance schedules for the entirety of the drain, again, to accommodate all the changes that have been made in land ownership and parcels and whatnot. As far as the total estimated cost for the project, it's a little bit of a unique one. We have just $22,000 as the total project cost estimate, which has all been assessed to the township of Perth East. That cost consists of allowances in the amount of $3,500. There's some landowners that might be in the crowd right now. The section that we're looking at extending touches a number of private properties. So any private properties that are being, that have the drain on them, they've been provided allowances for this drain. And then the remaining cost for this project is administration costs consisting of our time to prepare the report, costs for printing, net HST, and whatnot. And that is all I have to present for this report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from members of council? I know there's some landowners here too. Are there any questions from any of the landowners? If you could come up to the microphone and give your name and address, please. And
Judy Hamilton. I'm at 7 Cobalt North. I should bring stronger glasses, or I should have came up here a little sooner. The Gingrich, the extension, I'm assuming, is only the blue.
Right.
Why is it stopped at the purple? Like, what is that purple?
Right, so the difference between the blue and the purple line, so there was actually a section of, so the blue line represents what we call an open drain or a channel. So that section of the drain is channel where that blue line is shown. Where it switches to purple and that dash line, that just represents a pipe. So that is also part of the extension, but the drain actually changes from a channel to a pipe where those two lines change.
Fine. So where the purple is, are they being assessed on this 22,000?
So as far as the assessments go, all assessments have been made against the township. The township has been assessed all the costs for the project, so there's no assessment against any of the other private lands, I guess, if that answers your question.
So the purple is not being assessed, is what you're saying?
Only the township is being assessed.
Okay. My question, and this will go to council because of the development around me, I've been probably a thorn in your side, and it was mostly water issues that I was concerned with, which I still have, thank you. But I see that I'm going to be assessed, nothing great, but the ditch beside me was, when I was doing all this, I hired a lawyer from London to see what was going to happen with this drain, whether they were legal doing what they did, which they were. It was all above board. But the bottom line on his letter was that I would never need to concern myself with the Gingrich drain because it was not part of it. And that was in the end of February. So I guess my other question is, at the end of February, you mean nobody knew this was coming, that for costs for all these people? It's just, I'm throwing it out there.
okay, there's not going to be a cost to the landowners. the township is going to.
Well, this letter I got said it would be assessed on our taxes.
Normally, that's what happens for a municipal drain. It's assessed to the landowners whose water goes, who's in that watershed and goes into the drain. This time, because there's so many landowners, and there's so many properties that some of the amounts aren't real high, what they're gonna be assessed, it was easier by the time we spend staff time, we send out letters, it's gonna cost us more than what the drain's gonna be worth to fix it. So the township is gonna pay the full 22,000. It's not going to be assessed individually to any landowners.
But taxes will be increased.
No. It will not go on your taxes. It will be paid by the township.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Correct?
I'll maybe just clarify future maintenance. So this report tonight is to incorporate the purple and blue, as Trevor mentioned, so the open and closed drains, into the municipal drain, which was the Gingrich municipal drain. It's just an extension of this, so fully making it a municipal drain, not a private drain anymore. So any future maintenance costs that would be upstream to like the stormwater pond or anything else that was assessed to the original Gingrich municipal drain, if that happens in 2 years from now or 20 years from now, the property owners that are on this assessment schedule would see the bill for the work that's done at that point in time. But the report that's in front of you tonight, there's no billing back to property owners. If that clarifies.
Okay? Okay, do you want to?
Sorry. It's just, and I guess I probably know the answer. So something that was not, what was just an ordinary drain has morphed into a Gingrich municipal drain. So that can happen anywhere? Like, no, you don't have any say on, like, if you're told it's not a municipal drain and 2 months later it is, how, like, where does that come? Like, is this just progress and it will always be like this? Like, you know, that ditch is a ditch and 2 months down the road, it's a big drain. I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself well, but I just kind of wondering how does this all come about in 3-4 months that I never, like, I paid $4,000 to this lawyer and he sure never found anything out when he was at the offices. So just kind of curious, just curious.
I'll maybe try a little bit. So typically, yeah, when there's an extension, there's a petition of some sort that prompts the addition. In this instance, it was actually the township that moved forward with the petition because the drain itself actually does benefit Cobalt Street, which is the township street. So we have an obligation to address the drainage there. And there is development activity happening in the area, the daycare on the one side of the street, as well as council approved and county approved some severances to the north as well. So there were, I guess, a few triggers as it relates to the reason why it made sense to extend make this a municipal drain as opposed to a private drain from the township perspective.
You're correct, but at that point, that land was severed and approved by council, and that school building was already on the go, so they knew it before my lawyer asked these questions. And I'm just wondering, who gave him the information? He said he went to the council, he went to Perth County, like, who gave him these answers? Everything was in place before this drain was changed. Like, it had to be known that this was going down.
Yeah, I don't know who your lawyer was speaking with. I'm happy to speak with you afterwards to find out who he is, and we can, can confirm some of that information. I have not had discussions with him, and I don't believe our clerk has either. So, yeah, we can certainly try and clarify that.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other landowners with questions? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the presentation from Trevor Kipfer, engineer of Streamline Engineering, Inc., Gingrich Municipal Drain 2024, serving Milverton, for information, and further that the quarter revision for the Gingrich Municipal Drain will be held on January 14, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. We have a mover and a seconder, moved by Jerry, second by Jeremy. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move to our next drain, and that's the McCloy Municipal Drain.
All right, thank you, Mayor Eggetts and Council. As Trevor mentioned earlier, my name is Michael Seaman, and I will be giving you the summary of the Guelph to Goderich Rail Trail structure replacement on the McCloy Municipal Drain project. So we were appointed this past September to address the issue of the failing structure that provides pedestrian crossing over the McCloy Municipal Drain along the G rail trail just west of town here. The trail has been closed to the public between line 61 and road 140 for a few months because of this issue. Photos are up on the screen and in the reports on pages 1 and 2 of the existing structure now. We were able to survey and prepare a design this fall for the replacement of the old structure that was originally built to serve an operational railroad. We presented our design and estimated costs to the landowner's property management company, also to the G Trail Director, and to Perth East's drainage coordinator on October 24th of this year. The final proposed design for this project recommends replacing the 3 meter by 3 meter concrete structure with a 2.7 meter diameter corrugated steel pipe culvert and with riprap bank armoring. Minor tree removals and ditch regrading will be required to complete this work, and this stone dust path will be restored following the construction. For access to the site, a contractor will be required to cross private lands, and an allowance is provided in this report to that private landowner for the damages to his crops during construction. The estimated project costs are as follows. Total cost of $73,500. Of that, estimated construction costs are $51,800. Allowances are $500. Administration, including the prep of the engineer's report, tendering and contract admin, permitting fees, printing, net HST, etc., are $21,200. All of these costs are assessed as a Section 26 special assessment to the owner of the trail, which is the province of Ontario. Given the condition that the structure is in and the service that the trail plays in the local community, we are hopeful that construction can occur this winter to avoid unnecessary public safety risks and be ready for use in the spring of 2025. Thank you for your time. That's all I have to present.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of council? Nope, okay. We have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receives a presentation from Michael Seaman, Engineer, Streamline Engineering, Inc., McCloy Municipal Drain 2024, serving concession to Lot 2 for information, and further that the quarter revision for the McCloy Municipal Drain be held on January 14, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. We have a mover and a seconder, moved by Bob, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your night. You too. Okay, we do not have any delegations. We have no public meetings. We do have. Oh, I'm sorry, back up. We have the Perth East Youth Action Council group for an outdoor volleyball project with us tonight, so I'm not sure which one is one want to speak, but come up to the table, please, and.
Hello, Mayor and people of Council. My name is Alex Spicer, and I'm here on behalf of the Perth East Youth Action Council with Gwen Court and Kira Bingham. Thank you for reviewing our concept for an outdoor volleyball court at Greenwood Park.
We were inspired to take on the task of planning for an outdoor volleyball court after listening to peers in the community. This space would give us and other youth more opportunity for physical activity and to gather more to socialize. Formal quotes have not yet been collected, but our research shows that this project will cost approximately $30,000. We commit as a council to fundraise 100% of construction costs. We would like the court to be located at Greenwood Park to make it easily accessible to students after school. We request that the Township of Perth East take on responsibility of maintaining the space regularly once constructed.
We are here to ask you, Perth East Council, to approve the project concept, allow township staff to assist us with fundraising and building a development plan, and that the township accepts donations for the project. Thank you for your consideration for the outdoor volleyball court project at Greenwood Park.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions from members of council? No, oh, Hugh?
If you can't raise the 40,000, then the project won't go ahead.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, any other questions? Amanda?
I just have a more so question for staff, because I think Greenwood Park is really turning into quite an exciting hub with lots of activities, and we've had a bunch of different proposals as of late. So is there plans to bring this all together in terms of like a concept for council to review in a bigger plan?
Through the mayor, yeah, I think you're right. I was jotting down in advance of tonight's meeting. We've heard now from the Youth Action Council, which is great. We've heard from a dog park group as well. The school council has approached council as well with something they would be looking for. The Milverton Lions have expressed interest in the area as well. At this point, I think it would make sense. We have approved, or council has approved, the concept associated with Greenwood Park, but that is it, just a concept. So my suggestion for council is to maybe at this point it would make sense for a smaller committee of council members to get together and spend some time giving consideration to what the overall concept is and what the expectations as it relates to staff contribution, not only to initiating the project, but maintaining the assets going forward, addressing things like insurance, coming up with maybe a real plan as it relates to fundraising, those type of things. I think we've reached that point. Yeah, certainly there has been a lot of interest, as you've noted, Councillor Broadhagen, and I think it's important that it's a jointed as opposed to a disjointed effort as it relates to how Greenwood proceeds. So that would be my suggestion for council to consider, is maybe a few members of council sit as a committee, meet with staff, go over the concepts, try and establish some expectations as it relates to all of the different groups that have come forward and convey that information to them.
In terms of process, would it make more sense for us to ask for a staff report and that would come back to make a recommendation for a committee of council, or could that be something to be established tonight?
From my standpoint, I think council always has that opportunity. Yeah, on either option. The concept has been presented by staff, but as it relates to options in terms of creating a committee of council, that this is the first you're hearing of it, and it's just based on my own thinking and some conversations with Mayor Eggets about how do we best align council's expectations around Greenwood with the expectations of these great community groups that want to see something happen. We've committed to moving forward with the soccer pitch, and we have a formal arrangement with the school board as it relates to the maintenance of that soccer pitch going forward. So that piece has been addressed, but all the other pieces at this point are kind of in the air.
Could I make a motion that we get a staff report on the creation of a committee of council and what staff's recommendation would be on the makeup of that committee?
Okay, so Ashley's going to work on that. Meanwhile, we'll do the other for the committee that we see tonight. So we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the presentation from the Perth East Youth Action Council, PEYAC, regarding an outdoor volleyball court at Greenwood Park for information, and that council support the proposed development concept and request the PEYAC report back with an update when fundraising and a development plan are complete.
I just have a question. With the dog park, did we accepted the concept as well? Is it the wording the same? Because I'm just like, I want to make sure we're being consistent with all of the groups that have come before council in terms of the wording, if we're making a motion.
Becky's shaking her head no. What did we say, Becky?
It was just basically to come back with a business plan.
So we need to be, this is my gut check, is that we need to be consistent. Or if we're asking that of one group and not the other, I'm not sure that's fair, but that's my thoughts.
Jerry?
It looks like the motion is the same.
It's not. It says that it's saying that we're accepting the report and that we're like agreeing to their proposal, like the concept, which is different. Becky just said it was different than the motion that we made with the dog park, which was we asked them to come back with a business plan.
So you want to take out support the,
Sorry.
Like I'm asking for clarification.
So in the minutes that are in the package tonight, the resolution for the dog park, the second part of it is that council support the proposed development concept and request that the committee report back to council with a business plan.
Right.
And then the proposal for tonight with this one is council support the proposed development concept and request the Perth East Youth Action Council report back with an update when fundraising and development plan are complete. So they had mentioned they had fundraising, a further fundraising plan. So that's kind of the addition. We can change the wording if you wanted a full business plan.
It's a suggestion that we should be consistent with all groups. That is just my thoughts. So it's clear to everybody.
so you want them to come back, we'll just change it, that request that they
I think
come
it should
back
be the
with
same wording.
come back with a business
That's
plan?
my thoughts.
No one's moved it or seconded it, we're just figuring it out. Okay, so I'll come back, it would say it again. The Council of the Township of Perth East received the presentation from Perth East Youth Action Council, PEYAC, regarding an outdoor volleyball court at Greenwood Park for information, and at council support the proposed development concept and request the PEYAC report back with a business plan. Okay, so we have that moved by Amanda. Seconder, Bob. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. And then we have another motion that Township of Perth East Council directs staff to prepare a report regarding the composition of a committee for the Greenwood Park development.
I'm moving that.
So moved by Amanda, second Hugh. Comments or questions? Bob?
So I think normally what you would ask is for a staff report, and out of the staff report, they would probably recommend that there would be some type of committee to further pursue what's going on. There's a lot of balls in the air. Funding for the whole picture is kind of to be determined. Plan for everything that comes together is just a concept. So I appreciate that these young people have come to us and fully supportive of the idea, but there's a lot of things before we can say it's a go. So we will work with you moving forward, but at this point, I'm not sure that we have enough information to even form a committee when we're not sure what we're talking about. So how many other things are on the go? Walking trails,
So, Bob, just to clarify, my intent for this motion is exactly that. What I've said is that we've had numerous folks come forward with things that they would like to see in the area, and how do we like it's a hub of activity, so we have to make decisions on that. And so my thought is, we've had numerous groups come forward. At this time, we probably should have a committee, and I'm leaning on staff to come up with a formal report on a recommendation for a committee, and if so, what that committee would look like. Because there's been how many groups now? 4 or 5 groups. The school, Lions, youth group, dog park. Like there's 4 groups already, right? So that's more, so that's the intent of my motion. Because exactly that, we can't move forward on and agree on all these things when we only have so much space.
Okay, anyone else? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, now we have no delegations. We have no public meetings. We do have a public hearing. Council will now temporarily adjourn to sit as Committee of Adjustment pursuant to Section 45 of the Planning Act. I now declare this public hearing open. This public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by Paul and Kathy Brubaker and described as Concession 11, Part Lot 7, Part Lot 8, Ellis Ward, 4290, line 46. The purpose of this hearing is to give the committee and the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the proposed application and receive their input, and for the committee to make a decision on the application. All persons attending this hearing will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. Committee members may ask questions for the purposes of clarifying the application, but are asked to withhold comments on this application until all present have been given an opportunity to be heard. Any person who wishes to receive written notice of the decision made by the Committee of Adjustment is asked to email their name and mailing address to the Secretary Treasurer at this time. An appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal objecting to the decision made at this hearing may be filed by the applicant, the municipality, the minister, or prescribed utility providers with the Secretary Treasurer no later than January 6, 2025. No written notice except as previously noted will be given unless requested at this time. I will now call on our planner, Jeff Bannon, to present the planning report and recommendations. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
So minor variance application MV 13-2024 was submitted by Zoinka Priamo on behalf of Paul and Kathy Brubaker for the property at 4290. Line 46. The applicant is requesting relief to the required distance from the proposed additional dwelling unit, a reduction in the maximum floor area, and to allow the dwelling to be located in the front yard. Subject lands are designated as agriculture in the County of Perth official plan and is zoned as agricultural A zone, and adjacent lands AL-1. The Perth official plan states that additional farm residences must be located in proximity to the principal farm residence and farm buildings, and must use the existing driveway for access unless an alternative access is being provided. And the Perth East zoning bylaw allows secondary dwelling units within any detached dwelling or any building accessory to any such dwelling unit on the same lot as the dwelling unit, subject to the regulations of the particular zone in which it is located and subject to certain criteria. Staff are of the opinion that the requested relief does not align with the relevant policies and zoning regulations, and that it is considered to be undesirable for the subject property. The proposed location of the additional dwelling unit is 56 meters from the principal dwelling and is located on land that was previously used for agricultural production. The provincial policy statement.
Sorry, there's some confusion. It says it's the right property, but the wrong name at the top.
Right.
It calls it Gospel Echoes. It's not Gospel Echoes. That's next,
I
okay?
think this is,
Yeah, the sketches are correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you want me to wait for the next? I think it's the wrong PowerPoint that's up there. That's the consent PowerPoint. Brubaker?
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Right there.
Okay. The proposed location of the additional dwelling unit is 56 meters from the principal dwelling and is located on land that was previously used for agricultural production. The provincial planning statement requires that additional dwelling units must be located in close proximity to the principal dwelling or farm cluster to minimize the loss of the agricultural lands. The proposal does not adequately demonstrate how the additional residential unit would minimize the impact on agricultural lands or avoid hindering agricultural activities. So planning staff are of the opinion that the proposal does not meet the intent and the purpose of the provincial planning statement, the County of Perth official plan, and the Perth East zoning bylaw. Planning staff are of the opinion that the additional residential unit could be located in the existing grassed yard on the subject lands rather than on the prime agricultural land, and planning staff are recommending refusal of the minor variance application. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Any questions of the application? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not reading from my script. Oh, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the applications? Anyone speaking against? Seeing no one, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent? Seeing no one, does the applicant or the applicant's agent wish to address any of the, make a presentation or speak with respect to the application? Okay, you come to the table, please.
Good evening, members of the committee, public members, and staff. My name is Daniele. I am a planner with Zalin Capriamo. And tonight, with the property owner, we are honored to be here to present this application. So we thank firstly staff for their work on this report and even for going to a site visit in a rainy day. We also thank Jeff and the entire group for preparing the report. We have carefully reviewed the report and we respectfully disagree with the recommendation to refuse this proposed minor variance. If maybe you could just bring up the presentation that we put together. We just would like to highlight a few key points. I don't know if you have it. That's the one, yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So as was presented, we are asking for 4 variances and they are listed there. Currently, you can see that most of these lands are agricultural lands, workable lands. There is also a 2-story detached farm building. And we are actually proposing just an additional farm building, which will contain a secondary unit. Next slide, please. Yes. Yes, this one. Thank you. So what happens is there is a farm building that is centrally located to the southerly portion of these lands, and the potential areas, of course, were all evaluated, including the north of the existing dwelling. That is the proposed location that is staff proposed us. You can see how is the configuration of the site based on this image. And in the green area, you can see that's the area we are proposing to locate this additional farm building. And just to clarify, independently of the location of the new farm building, we will require to install a new septic system because the existing one does not have enough capacity for the additional unit. Next slide, please. Yes, so here you can see the north of the existing dwelling. That is where staff is just proposing us to install. Unfortunately, this area is very wet, poor sun, it's a drainage not good in this area, and there are more constraints compared to our proposed location. That is just in the next slide, please. There you go. Yeah, thank you. So here we are just comparing like the current uses, the access, electricity, and all those items. And as you can see here, what we are proposing has less constraints than the area north of the existing dwelling. For instance, the current use of the north of the existing dwelling is where the staff is proposing us to install the new farm building. It's currently being used for just use equipment, and then we would need to relocate all the equipment to another workable area. And of course, we will lose workable lands. And the area we are proposing, it's just a grass area that is not actively farmed, and it's mostly because of existing hydro poles. So the property owner currently have larger equipment that's kind of hard to reach at this area. So it's in about few years ago, he stopped just farming that space. That's why that's a very good spot. Also the access. So the area north of the existing dwelling, we would need to extend the existing driveway, which will require approximately 50 loads of gravel. And then for the proposed location that we are proposing, we could just use the existing driveway. Nothing is required. For the electricity, we would need to install about 2 to 3 hydro poles or maybe an underground installation. And for the proposed location, we can easily connect to the existing pole. It's right beside where we are proposing the house. Sun exposure, as I said, like there is poor sun exposure to the north of the existing dwelling, but where we are proposing there is all day sunlight, and then it's easier for winter heating. The tree coverage in the north, of course, we would require to remove about 11 trees, and we are proposing it's about just 1 tree. Soil drainage, again, as I mentioned, it's a very wet area, and you can see in the picture that was presented, it will require fuel for construction, and in the area we are proposing there is a firm clay to build on, nothing will be required. Again, livestock facility, if you see it's very close to the barn that is existing, and they use that area just to access, and then it's complicated because it will limit access to the existing agricultural operation. And where we are proposing, there is no significant negative impact. And also it will not impact any potential future expansion of the barn if needed. And finally, we are just providing an approximate area that would be impacted if we decide to move forward with our proposed location versus the area north of the existing dwelling. Next slide, please. It's another requirement that we are requesting minor variance to locate the farm building within the front yard. And just to highlight, it is an existing condition in these lands. We already have an accessory building that is located within the front yard. So the site already has an accessory building that is located within the front yard, and we do not see any negative impact on the agricultural character of the subject lands or even in the surrounding area. If you see there, unfortunately this image is not showing, but you have in the staff report, I guess, in the materials you received, we are actually placing the new building approximately 150 meters far away from the front lot line. The requirement, the setback is 50 meters, so we are almost 10 times deeper on where it's being required. Next slide, please. And after reviewing the potential areas, we have this, of course, we have noticed that the location we are proposing has less constraints than the area north of the existing farm building. And then we also see that we cannot place the house, the new farm building, closer to the barn because there is existing other farming operations and vehicle maneuvering in front of the barn. So if maybe someone has a question, why don't placing the house closer to the area that is a farm building cluster? That's why. And you can see there are trucks in there. So unfortunately, we would not be able to bring the house closer to the north. Next slide, please. In regards to MDS calculations, a staff report has said that it would create a greater setback. And in our report, we have reviewed the MDS calculations, and there are no concerns with this. And just to clarify, the MDS setbacks, they are calculated from livestock facilities on adjacent properties to the property line, so it would not affect any MDS calculations or surrounding area. Next slide, please. And finally, just concluding, what we are proposing, the additional farm building, it is permitted in this area. We are just asking for the variances, and we are actually placing this in the building cluster, and we have evaluated all the areas, and we have came up with this, that the north of the existing dwelling has more constraints than where we are proposing. We feel that this does not have significant impact on the agricultural operation in the character of the subject lands. So even the farm building that we are proposing, it will have a similar facade of the existing dwelling, so nothing will change if looking on the subject lands from the road. The area we are proposing is not actively farmed, and then it's just making use a good area that is already cleared. Finally, it's our professional opinion that the variances are minor in nature and desirable for the appropriate use of the subject lands. So if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. Also, the property owner can answer any questions if you have any. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee members? Hugh?
Yeah, there was in the report, there was something about house being too big, but that land is a swamp, so I understand you're not going to be able to put a basement in that, are you?
No.
So, okay, no. From what you've said, I think that's about the best place for the house because, again, you're dealing with a swamp, so it's extremely difficult to find a place that's, that you can actually build a house on, so.
Thank you.
Okay, others? Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to be clear, it's an accessory building basically with an apartment in it?
Yes, exactly. Is so there will be a garage, a storage area that is to be used for the agricultural operations, and it will contain an additional unit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Jerry?
Just one problem, thanks through the mayor, for Jeff. Your report mentions about the 45 minutes potentially for future create a larger MDS for the future livestock facilities that are built. But in that area, I can't see any possibility of future. We can't predict the future, but there doesn't seem to be many farms in that area that perhaps would expand. Again, I can't predict the future, but any comments on that?
Yeah, through the mayor. So just to clarify, I didn't write the report. I'm just here presenting because one of our other planners is at another council meeting in Perth South, so she wasn't able to attend. But I think the intent of that comment that she was proposing is making the point that there are further MDS requirements the farther you get away from your existing dwelling, right? So if you have an existing dwelling, your MDS setbacks are going to be less than if you place it outside of that 45 meters. Now, from my understanding, I don't think our main concern is the MDS requirements. I think our main concern was the location in relation to the farmland compared to having it within the farm cluster behind the dwelling. It sounds like our applicant has addressed the concerns with MDS setback requirements, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be a concern to locate it in that proposed location to meet those requirements.
Okay, other questions? No? Okay. The committee will now consider a motion regarding the application.
Rhonda, I'd like to make my own motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the minor variance. Because I know that the staff recommendation is to deny it. So that's what I would like to move forward tonight.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Hugh? Okay, so we have a motion that the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment approve the application file MV 13-2024 submitted by Danelli Sucurlo, I'm sorry if I,
That's fine.
Elsenbrush, agent on behalf of Paul and Kathy Brubaker, owners for lands described as Concession 11, Part Lot 7, Part Lot 8, Township of Perth East, municipally known as 4290, Line 46, subject to the following condition, and that condition is that the owner obtain the necessary building permit within 2 years of the approval of the minor variance. And that was moved by Amanda and second by Hugh. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, I declare this public hearing closed. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on now to reports, and our first report under planning is a consent application by the Martins on Concession 7, Lot 16, Mornington Ward, and I believe Jeff's going to do that, so Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So this consent application, B47-2024, was submitted by Gary Martin on behalf of Gospel Echoes for the lands municipally known as 4082, Perth Line 72. The applicant is intending to create a residential lot with an easement that will provide access to the parking lot on the severed lands. Subject lands are designated as village in the official plan and zone Special Highway Commercial Zone C3-3. The OP principles include avoiding conflicting and incompatible land uses, and the C3-3 zone allows for permitted uses in addition to retail stores, personal service shops, financial institutions, offices, clinics, carpentry, workshop, one residential unit, and accessory uses. The exterior side yard is set at 6 meters. The applicant has also submitted an application to rezone the subject lands for the severed portion from Special Highway Commercial Zone C3-3 to an HVR Hamlet Village Residential Zone to allow for that single detached dwelling on the subject lands. That zoning would include a reduction in the rear yard setback from 7.5 meters to 5 meters and a lot frontage of 30 meters down to 7 meters. And that zone change application will be brought to a public meeting sometime in the future. The public notice was provided to property owners on October 28th. One adjacent property owner to the east of the subject land has noted that they oppose the severance and the rezoning of the property to a residential use. They are concerned that the residential lot will hinder their ability to expand. The owner also believes that the provided property sketch does not reflect the current use. And as the subject lands are currently already containing a residential dwelling, no additional restrictions would be placed on the neighboring land uses. Additionally, the applicant has completed a compatibility study according to the provincial D6 guidelines to identify any potential adverse impacts from the subject application, and no potential adverse impacts were discovered as part of that study. The application proposes to sever 0.545 hectares for a residential development with an easement that will have a frontage of 20 meters and an area of 674 square meters. The existing use on the property is a thrift store with associated accessory uses. The proposal aligns with the broader objectives of maintaining compatible land uses and optimizing existing infrastructure. Staff are of the opinion that the application will positively contribute to the community and encourages responsible development within the area, ensuring that growth is responsive to local needs while protecting the natural environment, including the walking trail to the north. Staff are recommending that the Township of Perth East Council advise the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority that the Township of Perth East supports the consent application subject to the included conditions. And again, I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Questions of the report? Hugh?
Jeff, do you know how much industrial commercial land would be in the village? Like any kind of rough guess?
Unfortunately, through the mayor, I don't have that calculation. I'd have to probably do a short little bit of research, and I could provide you with that after the meeting if you'd like to know.
No, it's just, I'm never really too much in favor of getting rid of commercial industrial land and making it into a house, because usually there's not that much around, so I usually don't like to see any disappear. No, thank you, you don't have to do
Okay.
research, it's okay.
Okay, Jeremy?
Is the easement this long narrow strip, or that's part of the retained lands? Where's the easement?
Through the mayor, so yes, that easement is going to be over top of the lands to be severed, which is in yellow. And it's going to go back to provide access to the parking lot. So we'll go back, I believe, about halfway back into that lot.
So access to this lot would not be off of Park Street. It would be
through the mayor. So Park Street has been before council in the past, and it has been deemed to be surplus, and a portion of the lands have been allocated to this landowner. So Park Street doesn't exist anymore. The access is going to be through the property, the severed lands, which only have about, I think in the report it said 7 meters of frontage. So that will provide access to the dwelling at the rear of the property. It also will provide access to the parking lot for the commercial parking lot, which is partially cut off by the...
Okay, I'm sorry. So I'm misunderstanding. The easement will be on the retained... The easement will benefit the retained lands.
The easement will
because they'll be
benefit
able
the
to access.
residential lands, which is the severed lands.
Right, okay.
But it's going to be in favor of the retained lands. So the
Right.
easement's placed on the severed lands in favor of the
they
retained
can
lands,
ask-
which is commercial.
Right, so they can access the parking lot.
That's correct.
Thank
yes.
you. Okay. All right. Sometimes the retained and the severed gets crossed up for me.
Yes,
So, yeah,
I
thanks.
understand.
Okay, other questions, Andrew?
Thank you, Mary. So this is for us, one single family, the intent is one single family dwelling.
Through the mayor, yes. The intent is for a single detached dwelling.
And it's 2 acres, 2.12 acre, oh, sorry, retained, severed. I always get that mixed up, I can't see that far. Retained, severed lot, so 1 acre, 1 acre.
yes.
Okay, there you go, thank you.
Other questions? I guess I have one retaining to the letter that we got for clarification. How much of an effect will it have on if the business next door ever wants to expand?
Yes, so the business next door is able to expand. It doesn't impact their operations at all. They have completed the necessary noise study as part of looking at those D6 guidelines. The village designation allows for residential and commercial uses. So it contemplates being able to put both those land uses together in close proximity. We asked them to do that study to ensure that they are going to be compatible with each other and that the residential dwelling's not impacted by other industrial or commercial activities in the area. So there isn't any restriction on that beyond the fact that if they decided to put in a louder use than what is currently operating there, then they would be subject to those same restrictions that they would be subject to whenever they come in with that type of a building permit application.
Okay, good. Okay, any other questions? If not, we have a motion that the Township of Perth East Council advise the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority that the Township of Perth East Council supports the application file B47-24 submitted by Gary Martin for lands described as Lot 16, Concession 7, Mornington Ward, municipally known as 4082, Perth Line 72, subject to the following conditions. We have 7 conditions that are Perth East, and these are them. Number 1, that all financial requirements have met. Number 2, that the required cash in lieu of parkland dedication fee has been paid for the severed lot. Number 3, that the apportionment schedule for the municipal drains in the area be reviewed and be updated. Number 4, that the severed lot has been assigned a separate municipal address and sign. Number 5, that the undertaking be received from a solicitor that an easement has been registered on title of the severed lot in favor of the retained lot to provide access as identified on the reference plan to be deposited and registered. Number 6, the owner provide proof of probability of potable water to the satisfaction of Perth County and the Township of Perth East building official. And number 7, the confirmation be received that road access to the severed and retained parcels is to the satisfaction of the Perth East. And then we have 2 conditions for the County of Perth. And the first one is that confirmation be received from a solicitor that the certificate of the official will be scanned and attached to the electronic registration of the transfer. And the second one is the Land Division Committee be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of the deed/transfer or any other conveyance of interest in land under the provision of the Registry Act. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. Any comments or questions? Andrew?
I don't see any overall problem other than putting a residential house in basically a semi-industrial zone. We've had a little go at that lately. So I don't know if there's an amendment possible. I know staff, we've got a question on the floor, but I'm a little uncomfortable putting a residential unit, you know, especially maybe one house on an acre. That's a little bigger than probably we'd like to see. I know the county will probably sort it out, but I'm having a little bit of a hard time with this one. I'm not sure whether I'm gonna be able to support it.
Okay, anyone else? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving to the CAO. We have an alternate community emergency management coordinator. Mike?
Thanks, Mayor Agates. Yeah, very briefly, I think we captured what's intended going forward in terms of appointment of Shay, our fire prevention officer. She's partaken in a significant amount of training and preparation for the appointment. I think it aligns quite well with her education and background, and I think it's a positive step forward as it relates to the emergency management coordination between ourselves and the County of Perth. If there are any questions, I can try to address them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the report? If not, then we have a motion. The Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Alternate Community Emergency Management Coordinator, CEMC, CAO 2024-19, dated December 17, 2024, prepared by the Chief Administrative Officer for information, and further that the Council of the Township of Perth East give 3 readings to Bylaw 69-2024, being a bylaw to appoint the alternate Community Emergency Management Coordinator, CEMC, and repeal Bylaw 60-2019. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Andrew, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you. We move to clerk. We have the tender opening for the Ohm Municipal Drain. Ashley?
Okay, thanks, Mayor Agates. We're just looking to award the tenders here to Robinson Farm Drainage. The Court of Revision did meet before the council meeting and upheld the assessment schedule. I can answer any questions or try to if there's any.
Okay, questions of the report? If not, we have a motion. The Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report prepared by the Manager of Legislative Services / Municipal Clerk dated December 17, 2024, entitled Tender Opening, Ohm Municipal Drain, CLE-2024-23 for information, and further that Council award the tender for construction of the Ohm Municipal Drain 2024 to Robinson Farm Drainage with their submission of $23,820 excluding taxes, only upon satisfactory resolution of all appeals before the Court of Revision. We need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Hugh, second by Bob. All in favor? Carried. The next item is the council remuneration and expenses. Ashley?
Okay, thanks, Mayor Agates. So council did see this report, or a version. There's been a few changes at the Budget Advisory Committee meeting last week. So after the discussions, staff tried to implement those couple of changes. The first one is the travel expenses so that the travel time is included. So that's for the half-day, full-day per diems. That was the main one. And then we did add in wording under the mileage section as well. There's a sentence there that the mayor or designate is eligible for mileage to attend meetings with ratepayers when accompanied by the CAO. And then tried to just clarify the wording on submissions of the timesheets, so removed the word signed from that section. Other than that, there wasn't any other changes from what council seen when they sat as a committee. We can try to answer any questions though, if there's any.
Okay, questions of the report? Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor Agates. So the travel time is still the way it was, or it's changed?
So it's tried to clarify that travel time will now be included in the per diems. So if you traveled a half hour to Stratford, say, and then a half hour back, and then the meeting was 3 hours, that would total 4 hours or 5 hours. To get you over the 4 hour limit, travel time is included though.
Thank you.
I probably just made that
I
more
got a couple
confusing,
more,
sorry.
if that's okay. Sorry?
I said I probably just made that more confusing trying to
That's
explain
all
that,
right.
but yep.
I can relate. So we have the mayor sometimes isn't able to go and they'll delegate to somebody else. Now, how are we going to capture that? Will it go on the mayor's monthly meeting log, which is a public thing, saying Mayor Agats requested Deputy Mayor McDermott to go in her place, or how will we capture that? Is there a plan, or is that just a question that nobody thought of?
That is a question. I hadn't thought of that. Usually right now it's just captured on whoever goes in the mayor's place on their expense sheet. But yeah, that doesn't make its way to the public council meeting. If there is a time, because there was recently just this past weekend where the deputy mayor filled in for the mayor, that expense sheet could go publicly. That could be for
I wonder if it could go
council.
on the mayor's report and just highlight it was deputy mayor in place, just so we can keep track of it, right?
I could put that on my sheet that someone attended in my place, and then it would be clarified. Like Hugh on the weekend went to Shakespeare Parade and Milverton Parade both times on my behalf because I was away for the weekend. So when I put in for my expense for December, I can put that right on the sheet if that's the easiest, and just say the deputy mayor went in the place of the mayor, and then it's captured there. Is that probably the easiest? Otherwise, it's going to get confusing, right?
Because it's an official, I'm just getting at it's an official thing, right? Either they were invited or, right? So that's kind of just to keep it all.
But for something like that, I wouldn't put in for per diem. I only put in for mileage.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got a couple more, sorry. As far as when the mayor sometimes with the CEO, CAO meets with a developer, can that be delegated, or is that a separate item? That meeting just won't happen until the mayor is available, right? I know those meetings happen. It's normal, their mayor's role and just to promote the municipality in that. So will that be delegated to council members or deputy mayor, or?
Not unless I'm not available to attend the meeting. Otherwise, it would be myself.
And then how will that be captured if that delegation is done the same way? It'll be, Councilor Broadhagen attended, I just want to capture everything that's an official mayor thing. So can we?
Well, usually no one else is invited to those kind of events or those kind of functions. It's just the mayor meets with a developer or with a ratepayer or whatever.
Yep.
So unless someone went in my place, then I would, the mayor at that time could specify that somebody else went in their place, but otherwise it would not be delegated.
Yeah, so if it is delegated on the off chance holidays or whatever, and the meeting has to happen, how will that be captured is kind of my question.
Well, can we capture it the same way as
Okay.
if they delegate the deputy mayor, would be delegating the ward councillor to go in the place of the mayor.
Perfect, and that's with CAO. Mileage, taxis, ran into taxis. I briefly spoke about this last time. Now, you were just assuming that to get a taxi out of or a receipt out of an Ottawa taxi might be kind of rough. I think I had sometimes 3 tips a day is how can we expect, hopefully that'll won't happen again to get closer to the conference center. Is there some leeway going to be allowed in
for
mileage?
Taxis, if you're at a conference, I would view that under the transportation piece. So same as people put in for a train or bus if they've taken those there. So that would be under the new section D, transportation is where I would put taxi, unless council would see that somewhere else or wants a specific line item for taxis.
Yeah, it is kind of a one-off, but it apparently does happen, so.
But the question was, would you be reimbursed for a taxi if you didn't have a receipt?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
not based on the policy. And I've taken taxis before and I asked for a receipt. there's Ubers, there's lots of ways to transport, there's buses, you get receipts there too. The way the policy is written, and I'm trying to avoid staff being put in discretionary positions around these things.
Yep.
So, yeah, based on the way it's written, I would say no.
Perfect. So, smartphone for the mayor. I think that I asked this before. Doesn't the mayor who holds the mayor's spot already have a smartphone from the township?
Yes, it was just not captured in any policy previously, so we put it in this policy to make sure it's
Okay.
captured somewhere.
And I know in the past, there's been a discussion over who holds the phone if the mayor is basically out of the province. Does that go to the deputy mayor? Do we need to do something with that in this document, just to clarify it, or how does that work?
No, at this time, what happens, all of my emails would be transferred to the deputy mayor and not my phone.
Okay.
I still have access, so when I travel, so I was just in Florida since I left early Friday morning. I returned Monday night. I took my phone with me. So if something really urgent, I'd contact Hugh, he'd deal with it.
Okay, so there's some communication with the other at-large member. Oh, and the last thing is, it's not a big deal, but it goes from number 1 to number 4. I know we're just cleaning up an old document. I don't know if we just, am I looking at that right? It goes from honorarium number 1.
There's no 3. Yeah.
1, 2, and 3, I don't see it. It's not a big deal, just maybe before it's etched in stone.
Yes, we will make sure that that's changed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, then we do have a motion that says the Council of the Township of Perth East received the report entitled Council Remuneration and Expenses CLE-2024-24 dated December 17, 2024, prepared by the Manager of Legislative Services / Municipal Clerk for information, and that Council repel Policy 1.03.01 Council Remuneration and Expenses, and further that council give 3 readings to bylaw 70-2024, being a bylaw to provide for remuneration and expense reimbursement to members of council for the township of Perth East. Moved by Hugh, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks Ashley. We're going to move to finance, and our first one is our annual investment report, and Paula's going to do that. So Paula, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess before council tonight is the 2024 investment summary. As of November 30th, 2024, total investments were $23,700,000. Our interest rates range from 1.45 to 5.55% at this time. And our investments have increased by 5% from 2023 values. And that is my report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Jeremy?
As these items mature, then the revenue or the interest from those, that just shows back up on the operating budget, or where does that end up? I can't remember seeing that in the budgeting process.
Yes, it goes into corporate revenue as investment interest, and then it gets transferred to reserves. So it stays with the reserve that it's associated with, if it's associated with a reserve.
Okay.
Otherwise, it stays in the operating.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Hugh?
Just to follow up on Jeremy, so then a lot of the reserves are for asset management, right? So if you make money on that reserve for asset management, the money that you make goes back into that reserve, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. No, I did.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Annual Investment Report 2024 FIN-2024-25, prepared by the Manager of Financial Services / Treasurer, dated December 17, 2024, for information. Moved by Hugh, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. The next report is the property tax adjustment. Paula?
Thank you, Mayor Agates. So this report is the annual property tax adjustments report for 2024. So that's all of our additions or deletions from the roll, and the total amount of property tax write-offs for 2024 totaled $175,450. And of that, $92,576 was associated to the township. The remaining amounts related to the education portion of the taxation and the county taxation. So based on the 2024 budget for write-offs, the amounts of the actual write-offs experienced were under by 100,000, and the 2025 budget for write-offs has remained at the 2024 levels, and we're assessing that to reduce it further in 2026 budget if we stay consistent with the reduction in write-offs. And this is being experienced mainly because of MPAC's change, that farmland, when it changes ownership or the name change on the property, would revert back to residential automatically. Since 2024, they're keeping it in farmland, so it's preventing those write-offs going from residential back to farmland, if that makes sense. That concludes my report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Questions of the report? Seeing no questions, we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Property Tax Adjustments 2024 FIN-2024-26 dated December 17, 2024, prepared by the Manager of Financial Services Treasurer for information, and that Council approve the tax adjustments listed in this report totaling $175,450.49 to be written off in accordance with Section 39.1 and 40 of the Assessment Act, Section 357 and 358 of the Municipal Act as amended. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Andrews, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. And the next one is the tile loan application. Paula?
Thank you, Mayor Agates. Before council tonight is a tile loan application from William and Esther Kipfer, and that's on the for the property on Concession 6, North Part Lot 5, and North Part Lot 6 in Mornington Ward, or otherwise known as 4679 Line 72. The application is for $61,200 for a tile drain loan. There is a maximum of $50,000 per year. So the initial loan would be $50,000, and then if the program continues in the following year, in April, we can apply for the remaining $11,200 for continuation loan on this property. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, any questions of the report? Hugh?
What interest rate would you pay for that, Paul?
Through you, Mayor, it's 6%.
I thought I'd seen it someplace and I couldn't see it again. So thank you.
Okay, other questions? If not, we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Tile Loan Application for William Kipfer, FIN-2024-27, dated December 17, 2024, prepared by the Accounting Supervisor for information, and further that Council of the Township of Perth East approve the application for a tile drainage loan of $50,000 and a continuation loan of $11,200 as to the drains land described as Concession 6, North Part Lot 5 and North Part Lot 6, Mornington Ward, owner of the property, roll number 3110-320-003-01900-0000 4679, line 42. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Hugh, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Paula. We're going to move to Public Works, and our first report is tender results for the supply of a triaxle unit. Jake, the floor is yours.
Okay, hopefully it's on.
I think so.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Thanks, Mayor Agates. The first report tonight is tender results for the supply of the triaxle unit. We decided to kind of follow the county's lead and put this one back out for tender. Previously, we sole sourced our 2024 truck. Back in November, council gave us approval for pre-budget approval rather. We only unfortunately received one submission on this. There were a few plan takers, but only one formally submitted. I did have some conversations with some of those vendors we anticipated would submit, and the costs that they proposed were very close to what Premier proposed. The second bidder for the county truck, likely including social last truck through, their price was within $1,000 of this. For that reason, I would suggest going ahead with Premier on this one. There's kind of a second part to this report being the flooring agreements. Basically, this is how we've done things in the past. It just hasn't been necessarily formalized through an agreement like this. Typically, we'll pay for the cabin chassis when it's delivered to Viking for the outfitting for plow equipment. We propose to follow that same plan here. And unfortunately, as part of this, we will need some additional funding to complete the preparation of the triaxle, the big yellow and auto greasers in the amount of $15,000. If there are any questions, I will try and answer those.
Okay, thanks, Jake. Questions of the report? No, then we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Tender Results Supply of Triaxle Unit PUB-2024-30 dated December 17, 2024, prepared by the Manager of Public Works for information, and further that Council award tender PW-2024-07 to Premier Truck Group of London for the tendered price cost of $443,230 exclusive of HST, and further that Council authorize the Manager of Public Works to execute option 2 of the proposed flooring agreement alternatives between the Corporation of the Township of Perth East and Premier Truck Group of London, and further that Council approves the capital budget amendment of $15,000 for the procurement of the triaxle unit in the 2025 budget to be funded from the Public Works Capital Reserve. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Bob, second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and then the tender results for the Milverton Main Sewage Pumping Station. Jake?
Thanks, Mayor Agates. This one is for the twinning of our force main and also pumping station upgrades at Mill Street West Pumping Station. That pumping station being the one that takes all of our wastewater from Milverton and conveys it to the unit farm. There was a fairly significant amount of interest in this project, 42 registered plan takers and 11 submissions. We had BM Ross do some investigating on our behalf of the 2 low bids. Spand is the low bid, but a company that neither BM Ross or the township has ever worked with before. Along with that, there is a pretty significant difference in the estimated timeline for completion. Span provided a completion date of 40 weeks within the date of the award, whereas the second low bid, Van Bree, provided a completion date of 8 weeks. Van Bree is also the company that the township has worked with in the past on municipal drain work, and have been satisfied with what they've done. There were some reference checks done on the 2 low bids, and there was a bit of mixed opinions on or feedback, at least from about Span. And that kind of led to the decision to recommend the second one, and the Manbree. If there are any questions on this one, I will try to answer.
Okay, questions of the report? Nope, then we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Tender Results, Milverton Main Sewage Pumping Station Upgrades, PUB-2024-31, dated December 17, 2024, prepared by the Manager of Public Works for information, and further that Council award contract number 22026 to Van Bree Drainage and Bulldozing Limited for the tendered cost of $748,322.95, inclusive of HST. Moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jake. Okay, we have no reports from building. We have no reports from Parks, Recreation, and Community Services. No reports from fire. Now we're to correspondence. We do have Enbridge with a hearing notice, an application for a new certificate of public convenience and necessity. Is there any questions on the item of correspondence? Hugh?
Yeah, I was not aware that we gave some land to the township of East Lower Tavistock. That was before I was ever on the council.
Anybody want to talk to that?
Yeah, it was back in 2009, just, I can share with council afterwards the actual order, because back in 2009 with how the records were, it's a lot of paper copies. So electronically, I don't have the grid, I have the lots and concessions, but to actually show you on the map. But it was, yeah, just outside of Tavistock in 2009 that happened.
Yeah, that's right. It's on 107.
Andrew?
Thank you, Mary. I just want to ask a question. It's not going to upset any existing agreements we have for any of the stuff going on throughout the township in Milverton and the area where the gas lines are. This is something separate, or?
As far as I'm aware, it won't, pardon? Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it won't have any impact on anything that we have.
Okay, anyone else? No? Okay, then we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from Enbridge Gas Inc. entitled Hearing Notice, Application of New Certificate of Public Conveyance and Necessity, Township of Perth East, Ontario Energy Board, file number EB-2024-0327 for information. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we're down to council and committee reports. We had my meeting log last meeting, so not again till January. Council reports, do we have anyone on the board or committee? Hugh?
Not really a board or committee, but I did have the good luck of going in both parades, and one in Milverton, there was a huge pile of kids out, and I will give congratulations to Sydney. She ran a very good thing for the kids afterwards and stuff like that, and I had help with her granddaughter, so she was quite happy to go in and have fun, and I would congratulate them in Shakespeare, and program we put on there, all three granddaughters had a great time, so thank you to Sydney.
Okay, anyone else have a report they want to give? If not, do we need a motion to accept that? Okay, accept Hugh's report for information. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and then we have bylaws. We have 5 bylaws that are read at first and second reading, and the first one is bylaw 68-2024, Committee of Adjustment, 2025 appointment. Bylaw 69-2024, Community Emergency Management Coordinator, CEMC, and alternate CEMC, and that was on 8.2.1 tonight. We have bylaw 70-2024, that's council remuneration and expenses, that was item 8.3.2. We have a provisional bylaw 117-2024 to provide for drainage works known as the Gindry Municipal Drain 2024, and that was item 6.2.1, and a provisional bylaw 118-2024 to provide for drainage works known as the McCloy Municipal Drain, and that was item 6.2.2. So we need a mover and a seconder for those first and second readings. Moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. Then we have third and final readings on 3 bylaws. The first one is bylaw 68-2024, the Committee of Adjustment 2025 appointment, and that would refer back to 11.1.1. We have bylaw 69-2024, the Community Emergency Management Coordinator, CEMC, and the alternate CEMC. And we also have bylaw 70-2024, and that's the council remuneration and expense. So we need a mover and a seconder for the third and final reading of those bylaws. Moved by Jerry, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. Do we have any notice of motions? Any other business? Any announcements? Amanda?
I'll just make an announcement. The Perth East Twinning Committee has been advertising. It's open to the public now for those who might be interested in going to Germany in summer of 2025. So they've been sharing some of that information on some Facebook groups. And if there are any members of the public or other council members that are interested in that information, I'm happy to share that package over. So they do need to, basically it's, we need to make decisions before December 30th, before the end of the year, or as soon as the numbers fill up. And so it's really contingent on filling up a bus of people. And so just wanted to share that for those who might be interested in participating or learning more about the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Any other announcements? Nope, okay. We do have a need for closed session. So we have a motion that the regular meeting of council be temporarily adjourned at 8:42 p.m. to permit the holding of a meeting in closed session for the purpose of solicitor-client privilege. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to the rest of staff. Thank you for all you do, and we hope you all enjoy the holiday season. So. Okay, we have a motion, the Council of the Township of Perth East rise from closed session and reconvene in regular council at 9:25 PM. Moved by Jerry, second by Hugh, all in favor? Carried. We have a motion that the closed meeting was held and only closed session items identified were discussed in closed session. Moved by Amanda, second by Andrew, all in favor? Carried. We have a motion that bylaw 71-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Township of Perth East at its regular meeting held on December 17, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time. Moved by Bob, second by Hugh, all in favor? Carried. And the last motion of the night is that the meeting be adjourned at 9:28 PM. Moved by Amanda, second by Jerry, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good night.
Prosperous New Year.